Welcome, Amalga-Maniacs, to your next installment of Amalga-Cast. This one's a little bit special. We're going to be doing something that we've never done in this group before. It's going to be a first time for a little bit of everything going on. We got some starting out hip-hop artists, some gentlemen who've been in the game for a while, and got some projects coming out. Also are members of the groups. We're here to talk about the marriage between nerd culture and hip hop and how those two things kind of go together like peanut butter and jelly. We're going to introduce you to some MCs, and we're going to get into a little bit about what this culture is all about for those that don't know. So this is your first Amalga-Cast featuring hip hop artists that are in the group, up and coming artists in the industry. You're welcome. Real quick, we're going to get into introducing everybody. Please, this is your stage. Introduce yourselves, gentlemen. We'll start with Joe Bags.
Yo, what's good, Amalga-Maniacs? It's your boy, Broadway Joe Bags. TSOI, Joe Lewis, Ayak. Representing Matt Murdoch on the mic.
Kenneth Ray, go ahead. Introduce yourself. Let the people know.
What's good? This is Judgment from TSOI, the Society of Invisibles, Avenue of the Arts. Yo, what's good?
Mrs. Thomas, please, enlighten them.
Amalga-Mania. I go by the name Ghost Dog. I am a solo MC. I'm one part of Phantom Blade. I'm founder member of Cypher University and one part of the 1100 Hunters. What up?
And me, I'm the hostess with the mostest, the boy wonderful Ian Wallace. You know why I'm here. You know what I do. So let's get into these questions we have for these MCs here. The game, the industry, what brought you to it? Around what time did you realize that this was something that you were going to make a part of your life, something that you knew was a part of your life? I mean, not exactly the very instant, but the year you knew you were going to go out and competitively be an MC, an artist, and do this. We'll start with Joe Bags.
What year? When did I decide I wanted to become a part of the hip-hop game? I guess probably 97 or 98. I mean, I had already been freestyling for a while. I already got into hip-hop and been into hip-hop for like 5 years. So I'd say around the time of like Wu-Tang Forever.
Okay.
When that dropped. Yeah, when Wu-Tang Forever dropped and that song Severe Punishment, I used to just write mad crazy rhymes and freestyle to that crazy, like Sadat X, Wild Cowboys, and All City. There was a group called All City back in the day. I just used to chill at my partner's house and practice the craft. And it was a long after.
Okay. Kenneth Ray, why don't you let us know? When did you first realize that this was what you were going to do, what was going to be a part of your life?
Yeah, I don't know. I started when like my sophomore year. I started rhyming. My one of my friend's brother was like, "You listen to hip hop enough, you should be able to rhyme." I listened to it, so I used to just me and another one of our TSOI members, Nonsense. We used to just write and freestyle all the time, and it progressively became a thing where it was like, this is what I want to do. This is where my passion is. So I just continuously did it and always was in it. And I just kind of always felt it was my thing to do. Once I started doing it, it was always something I always wanted to do. And I've always continued to do it.
And what was the year?
My sophomore year, probably 96, 97, something like that.
Okay. Ghost Dog MC, Derek Thomas, let them know. When did you decide that this was for you and your thing to do?
Okay, so like I started freestyling and rhyming period in 94, in lunchroom battles. And that kind of progressed. Back then, we would get home, be watching our Rap City Top 10 and Yo MTV Raps, catch each other the next day and kick all the lyrics. So we were already on the culture. But as far as like freestyling, that's when I started rhyming period and started writing period. I started professionally doing it. I recorded my first studio in 2000. I put out my first project in 2003. And that's when I really started to evolve and progress and know my lane and who I was as an MC and how to go about starting to do it for real. Yeah.
Okay. Now, one theme that I'm starting to realize with this, and something I find very interesting, as a hip hop head myself, is we are talking about some very, very robust and involved years in the hip hop culture. We're talking 1997, 1996, 1994. This was, ooh, this was when I believe this was one of the more high points. Let's say in
Oh,
between
yeah.
95 and 2000. This was one of the highest points of hip hop evolution in there. Like it was a very competitive time for hip hop. So it's interesting that this is around the time where you gentlemen, this became something that, you decided you were gonna graft into your life and make a part of your life. So it's I like that. I like that theme that all these times were very important times of hip hop as well, just with the artistry and everything else. So moving forward, okay, you know that this is what you want to do. You know which direction you're going in, or you're going in a direction at the very least. What was it like starting out, your first project? I mean, obviously we don't need to go through the finer points of every single detail because that would be impossible with all three of y'all here. But rough points about what it was like just getting your foot in the door, those first couple of, how it felt and how you felt going forward, like what it meant to you to keep moving forward regardless to how big this pond was that you were entering. We'll start with Kenneth Ray on that.
It was like during that time, the time period that I started is a lot different than it is now. You didn't have the internet. You didn't have, not everybody had recording equipment, beat making equipment, things like that that was unheard of. So you really had to get yourself out in the scene and perform, hit ciphers, hit spots with like-minded individuals. So I just kind of was doing that. I was always in crews. So, and as you go around and start hitting the scene, if you're dope, then you're going to be recognized and you kind of link up, So I recorded a lot of music, but my first actual project, and it goes hand in hand with my brother Bags, is our group project, the Society of Invisibles, which is really it's a compilation of two crews who actually had beef together that came together because they actually made the same type of music. And like you said, during that era, it was very competitive. So a lot of people were at each other's necks because everybody wanted to let it know who was trying to hold it down.
So for our song about that.
Yeah.
Protect your neck.
Protect your neck. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's real. And so the Society of Invisibles, we recorded an album and we released it in 2005. And then we wound up getting signed. And so we re-released it in 2006. So, and that was a crazy instance because before we got signed, our crew had built up a pretty reputable name in Phoenix and our city. Because, at this time, again, the climate is different. Now, any day that you can go anywhere and probably out of 10 people, 2 people do something music related, whether it be rapping or this and that. Back then, it wasn't the same, so the community was very small, but, everybody was trying to do their thing. So we had already kind of set up a thing in our city, and through Phoenix and our not our music, but also us having a following, we got signed and it kind of expanded our base,
Okay.
So that was like my experience, Bags has got his own thing too, but kind of it was like doing music and going through a scene like that, but then actually getting recognized as a MC was with Society of Invisibles, like recognized on a much bigger scale, like the eye, our logo.
So you didn't really get a chance to have that stage fright, getting it, getting those working those mechanics out. You kind of went from, like you said, having the beef with the two crews, and then y'all coming together and then putting out a noteworthy project and then being signed. So that was like, that sounded like a straight line right into the door. Like you didn't do too much foot in the door. It sounded like you kind of went right through it. That's
absolutely. I mean, we went from doing, like I'd always performed and doing local shows, but then we went from doing local shows to touring and performing in front of, hundreds of people.
Okay, so there was that time to kind of get your sea legs under. Okay. All right, yeah, I misunderstood. I
never did it before, but it was definitely just a step up. It's like, you're doing layups your whole life and all of a sudden you dunk. You're like, damn, I'm playing the rim now. You know what I'm saying?
All right, Ghost Dog MC. Same question for you. What was it like starting out? What was your experience like getting your foot in the door? Going forward, what made you want to keep moving forward?
It was kind of converse, man. My whole structure has been. I've actually never been signed. I'm still independent. My first project, and I learned out of necessity. You know, in the very beginning, I had the Boss DR5. I banged out my own beats, and I learned to use, to use it, BR532 and engineer myself. And then that kind of snowballed and grew as I met people, in the network. Because we did, man. Like I used to go out on the hip hop scene. I met some of the people I consider brothers, just like y'all, through battling each other. The level 100, part of my crew, like we met on the battle circuit. So I mean, like we kind of snowballed. I learned to do it myself, and then I met people who knew how to do it better. And then we started, doing projects. I always had a vision for a project I would work on and put it out independently. When it came to doing shows, I would get out. Started out on open mics, the showcases, to booking my own venues. I mean, this is back in the day. It's not the same. I did have access to the internet, and that made a lot of this possible. Because I literally started out going through the, building connections with venues through the yellow pages, code. And now it got to the point where I could bring in acts like Capadonna from Wu-Tang. It got to where I could bring in Kev Brown and Ken Starr. I could bring in Prince Poe from Organized Confusion. So I started small, and just through constant work and grind and just getting better at what I do, I started getting recognition for some of the things I put together and some of the things I put out. And just got me to a situation where now I actually do tour, the country, and I book all my own shows. Me and my tour brethren, we all do our own work. And actually, my tour brethren is somewhat of a mentor at this point. If y'all familiar with Justice League, that's the crew that Lil Brother 20 came from. Well, Cesar Comanche is the co-founder of that. And that's somebody who's somewhat like a big brother to me at this point. And I met him through me getting to the point of doing my own bi-weeklies. It just grew to where we're doing like 150, 200 heads in a show just from word of mouth. The last one I had M1 for Dead Prez just come just because he heard about it. He wasn't there to perform. He wasn't there, like nobody expected him to be there, but it's like, holy, you know what I mean? So it just kind of took on a life of its own. So I've been very fortunate to get in the right places at the right time, meet people who can help me do what I do a little bit better, and just kind of progress.
Okay. Broadway Joe Bag, same question for you, sir.
You know what? Coming up in the game was an adventure and a journey for me. I used to be the dude who got booed at house parties for being too drunk and high rapping. So I was that guy for a while, but I just had it in me. Like I tried all the elements before I got into rapping. Like I did graffiti first, but I wasn't good with aerosol. And then I'm too big to be breakdancing. And my fingers are too chubby for me to be scratching up on some decks or any sort of skill. So I kind of found my way into rapping. My breakout moment, really, I had two. Like one was my homeboy Nell Brooks. There was a rapper in the late 90s from New York by the name of Half a Mill. Half a Mill was a big up and coming rapper. My dude Nell Brooks is his cousin. He moved out here to Phoenix from New York. We met. We used to just chill, blow L's, and argue over East Coast, West Coast. Who was better, Tupac or Biggie, things of that nature. And we used to just kick it. One day he just told me I was nice. Why don't you pursue it? And this was like pre-Eminem. This is like before Eminem blew up. So like white dudes with skills that were corny were like few and far in between. So that was my lane. I got into battle rapping, started just popping up there at every show, cypher, battle, whatever. And we from the West Coast, we come from that era back then. Everything was very territorial. Men were much more aggressive then. Things were just a little different than they are now. Doesn't make it better. That's just the environment we grew up in. So we came up butt heads with other squads, and a lot of times it'd just be on some hip hop ish. Other times it would spill into something else, a lot of ego and testosterone when you're 17, 18, 19, 20. You're nice. Everyone thinks they're nice, and we're battling for fame. I bumped into Kenny here, Judge. We have some mutual friends, my boy Urel, the architect, and Terminator Tragic. And I met them, who Joe introduced me to our boy Nonsense, who introduced me to Kenny. And we all just clicked up immediately. Actually, to get in the crew, I had to battle the dude who ran the crew, but he didn't want to battle, so he quit the crew, and I ended up in the crew.
Pretty
So,
much.
and then we met another crew and had real beef with. I mean, it was rhymes, but like they were the only cats out here in Phoenix who rapped the way we rapped. And my boy Arlo took a page out of the RZA's book with Wu-Tang and saw the talent and the possibility and potential, so we started rocking with him. I mean, we didn't just get signed right away. We were a squad, a big squad for like 2 years. I remember our first show, maybe you remember, Kenny, we got booed off stage. We didn't have the chemistry yet. We were still young. We came up there. We thought we were Rockefeller, Dipset or something. And we just, we weren't even close. We didn't have it together yet. But after a year or two of putting in work, doing every show we could, tidying up our stage show, getting out there, mingling with the people, shaking hands, slapping palms, all that. After a while of putting in that work, we eventually got to the point where we dropped our album. We sold about 5,000 units regionally and made with a major record label at the time, Baby Grand Records. They ended up picking us up and re-releasing the album, and that was a blessing and a curse. The blessing from it came because it gave us a name worldwide and a different newfound respectability that we didn't have before. Just having our name out there got us in certain doors that we would never be able to get into before. The curse of it is you got to live up to that standard, and musically we have, but the industry is so different now. I mean, we got signed in 2005, dropped in 2006. There aren't no more record labels anymore. It's all distribution deals and people doing it themselves. DistroKid or whatever, Bandcamp, SoundClick, whatever. You know what I'm saying? SoundCloud. You got all these different avenues. So it's a different game now. But that's how we came up, man. But by heads, brush your shoulders.
That's the best way. That's the best way, in my opinion. So, moving forward to the now, here we are. 3 seasoned MCs got their foot in the door, understand a little bit about what the world is like, the game is like, has elevated themselves to a status, a plateau, if you will. What's on the menu? What's going on? We don't need to know everything. We understand blueprints. We understand the master plan's got to be kept secret. But we got to give the people a taste of what's going on. We need to know what to look for, what's happening, what we should be looking for, and what's coming up. So give us a little taste. Let us know what's coming up. And then any projects you're working on recently that you want the people to know about. We'll start with the Ghost Dog MC.
So if you want to know what I'm working on for my next solo project, I got one coming out called Warriors Pride. It actually has a feature from Prince Poe for Organized Confusion on it. What you want to look for recently, we just dropped Beware the Phantom Blade. Me and my brother Shark Cuts, I'm Ghost Doggy Shark Cuts. We rock together with Phantom Blade. Beware the Phantom Blade is a really dope concept album that came out. My most recent solo project is Dreams of a Wandering Samurai. That's Ghost Dog Dreams of a Wandering Samurai. And it's got a feature for Dinko D for leaders in the new school. So I mean, they're solid joints, man. They're definitely worth checking out. I got some shows coming up also. Actually the tour season about to kick off. Actually this Saturday I'll be in Greensboro representing Cypher University, which I'm a co-founder of. It's a North Carolina tradition. Been going for going on 9 years strong at this point. It's had a documentary at the Kansas Film Festival. I'll be kicking off a couple lectures in Mahwah, New Jersey, the end of March. That'll kick off the start of the Build a Bridges tour, which I've been doing for the last 6 years. We got shows in New Hampshire, Vermont. We got a festival in Charlottesville. That's March 28th through the 31st, and also April 6th. So if you're in New Jersey, Vermont, Manchester, New Hampshire, anywhere in that New England area, or if you're anywhere in Virginia, the DMV, come see me.
All right. Broadway Joe Bags, what's cooking? What y'all got?
What to do?
What's in the pot, man? What you got on the stove?
Well,
We want to know. I mean, not everything, but we just need a little taste. What's happening?
all right. Well, I mean, you can check out. I just dropped my first solo album in December, November. It's called Savage Oppress,
Mm.
named after Darth Maul's brother. It's
Mm.
spelled with two P's, OPPRESS. You can find that on all digital outlets, Bandcamp, iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music, whatever you're into. Uh, Really, it's on some old school, some true school boom bap with some bully rap lyrics. That's kind of my lane. Uh, you can check that out. I got an album coming out here in the next couple months with my brother, St. Louis Gabor. We formed a group called Joe Louis. We got an
Mm.
album called Champion Sounds coming out. So far, it's got my boy Cash 2 from Avenue to Arts and Elder Sensei from the Artifacts. And then I got another album coming out somewhere around the same time in the summer with my boy Guttermouth, aka Chalk Diesel, called Two Face,
Mm.
Rogues Gallery. So I mean, we talking hip hop and comic books. You already hear the influence right there.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
in
you
there.
can always catch me doing music and doing shows with my brother Kenneth Ray here. That's my dude, man. That's my brother from another mother. You hear my album, he's on it. His album, I'm on it. We do shows together. We tour together. I got his back, he got mine. So you can always catch us in the mix up to something.
All right. So
2019 is going to be a glorious year.
I can hear it. It sounds like it. All right, Kenneth Ray, what's cooking? What we got? What we can look forward to?
Man, well, I just I'm working on a project with the Preminist. That's our producer. He produced all of Joe Baggs' Savage Oppress as well. It's called Cheap as Nothing. That should be out sometime in the middle of the year. I just released an album with my other crew, the Avenue of the Arts. You can find us on Facebook or Instagram, AOTA Crew. All the information will be on there. Some of my old albums you can find on Judgment Bandcamp. You can find Judgment's Grindhouse Spectacular, which also has Joe Baggs. It has pretty much the whole Society of Invisibles. I have an EP called The Inevitable Consequences of. You can also find the Preminist also dropped an album with a Society album because we're crew, so all our albums, that's everyone's albums, you know what I'm saying? So it's called X-Ray Specs. You can find that on Bandcamp. That's got nothing but bangers. So check that out. And then shows, I mean, we're always doing shows. Matter of fact, I'm going to be rocking with Baggs' set on the 1st. He just doesn't even know it yet.
Right. No, I already knew it. Bags run through a remix.
Yeah, that's right. We're doing Baggs run through him.
You didn't think I knew though.
All right. Now that we got all the business out of the way, let's get into the real reason we're all here. The marriage between the nerd culture and hip hop. I can hear it in the influence of some of the song names and album titles and stuff that I'm hearing. I'm hearing a lot of the culture and a lot of the things that we enjoy in this culture in there. So for you guys, and obviously this is a very different type of marriage. A lot of people don't know how to balance this. You got your Method Mans in the game, you know, your Ghostface Killers in the game, your MF Dooms, and the like of MCs who obviously enjoy the nerd culture. But the balance has always been something a little different because obviously in the hip hop culture, it's a little more themed off of realistic things and environments that bring real consequences. And then you have, you know, the comic book side of things, which is more obvious fantasy and linked to things that may be real, but obviously trail off of that. So the marriage of these two things, how do you put them together? Where do you find your interest in these things? Some of your favorite characters, if you may, and what you love most about the culture. We'll start off with Joe Baggs.
Well, I mean, the marriage of the two cultures go back. I think I'm almost to the age of being considered an old head. We get up there. I remember the first time I can really remember comic books and hip hop marrying each other was, I mean, obviously Wu-Tang Clan Enter the 36 with my man, the Rebel INS, your neighborhood Spider-Man. Like that was the first line I can really remember. Then even like Outkast, AT Aliens had a comic book in their album, you know?
Yeah.
So And I think I think a lot of those 70s and 80s babies that came into hip hop in the early 90s like brought that love of comic books, especially New York. You know what I'm saying? Because Marvel comic books is New York. New York is Marvel. So you got a lot of these cats, like Wu-Tang brought up, kung fu culture, kung fu movies. They brought in the comic book culture too. And it's always kind of been there because, you know, no matter what MC you're thinking of or whose name you can bring up, there's always an element of exaggeration.
Absolutely.
Uh, yeah, creative license to paint stories, tell stories, paint pictures. Battle rapping, we basically are superheroes. You know, Joe Bags is a superhero. Ghost Dog is a superhero. Judgment is a superhero. So, we use a lot of parables. We use a lot of metaphors. That draw inspiration from it. I mean, just reading a comic book. I mean, especially at that young age and coming into, we still reading them. Man, so much creativity comes into creating just a one four panel page of comic books. The penciling, the inking, the coloring, the lettering. I think it just spawns creativity in people who are creative in different outlets. So, when you look at it now, I mean, we're talking nerd culture. When we were kids, when I was a kid, if you read comic books, you definitely did not have girls that look like a lot of these cosplayers in costume. You were kind of bullied, they're not just some square nerd with a pocket protector and a runny nose. Now you look at it, nerds run everything. You know what I'm saying? Like nerds run the world. It's just what it is. Nerd culture is everything. Everything is nerd culture
Yeah.
in its own perspective. You know what I'm saying? They got in their own category and genre. I mean, it's all nerd culture. So to see it now come to fruition, and then you got like artists like Mega Ran. He's a cat out here in Phoenix. That dude's everywhere. WWE, he's at comic book conventions. He's in Tokyo hanging out he's just doing incredible things. Like it just makes sense, and it's kind of beautiful to see. The merging of the two art forms to create even something greater. I think is just fresh to death. I mean, look at the Marvel hip hop covers from last year. That's beautiful. You know what I'm saying? To see it come to this point, to see how accepted it is, to see how big hip hop has been for a long time. But even comic book movies, I mean, dang, Black Panther got nominated for 7 Oscars. He got a Best Oscar nomination, a comic book movie. So to see it where it's at now, it's just beautiful. Sorry for talking so much.
No, you're good. That's what we're here for.
It's a beautiful thing to me.
Go ahead, Judgment.
Yeah, man. I it's crazy to me because I was in the comic books more before I was in the hip hop, but to hear certain hip hop heads start talking about comic book related stuff, it made me go, damn, they're on the same stuff that I'm on. You know what I'm saying? So, and I always felt like the way that I rhyme, the way that I write is I'm painting a picture with words. And to me, comic books, anime, they always gave you the dopest visual landscape. And I would just take that and be like, I'm going to try and transform that into a rhyme. Like, I just saw the Hulk pick up a mountain and smash Absorbing Man. How can I say that on beat to this and make it sound super dope? Just as dope as it looked to me when I turned the page and saw it and was like, oh my gosh. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, so what Bag said is very true. Like when I was reading comics, hip hop and comics, it was kind of like it kind of grew to that level of having a marriage. You didn't know they were married until a lot more people started saying, because more so everybody was definitely hip hop, but not everybody wore their like, I read comics, I'm a nerd on their sleeve. You're like, nobody said that. Absolutely. And then I honestly think that the culture got that way because as people got older, and especially because we're talking about our era, because we remember that when hip hop used to be considered a fad, like it wasn't supposed to last, and now it was a big deal when Sprite had rappers in there. And now everything involves hip hop. I mean, if you see a commercial, they're selling cars, tampons, there's a hip hop beat behind it. You know what I'm saying? Like the evolution. And I think that people, as we've gotten older, have kind of gotten more comfortable with, it's cool to like, you know, I like comic books, I like Wolverine, I like this and that, and it's become more accepted. So then just the hip hop and comics and nerdism together has become more accepted to where people are like, yeah, of course I like, you know, of course I like comic books, but you know what, I also like hip hop too. You know, I mean, especially I remember hearing Last Emperor's Secret Wars when it was like the most mind-blowing song ever, where he had comic book characters battling against MCs and using their style against the two. And that was like the most mind-blowing song ever, where I was just like, damn, this song is ridiculous. And this dude's a hip-hop head, and it's not just like a run-of-the-mill, you know, and that was kind of like where I was just like, you're gonna do it how you do it. I mean, you're gonna reference it, and it's just become and obviously hip hop has become a huge industry, made, you know, billions of dollars. And comic books, like Bag said, you know, not only are they recognized to get Oscars, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you have these movies are making $2 billion worldwide. $2 billion. Black Panther made $2 billion. You know, I mean, pretty much everything is going to be accepted now, where they're trying to reach from every level of hip hop to every level of comics, where you see even D-list characters. I see characters getting movies and on TV shows that I would never have thought that I'd ever see outside of a comic book. And that just shows, I guess, that nerd culture is it's in. But then again, my general motto is, if you're not a nerd about something, then you're not living life. So
that's fair. That's fair. Coach Dog MC, same question to you, brother.
First off, props to mention even knowing that Secret Wars shit, man, because that Last Emperor joint was a jump off, dude. My mind was blown first time I heard it. So like going, if you want to go back, like, man, like I used to hit my brother up for his X-Men comics. So I've always been on comics even before, when same time I was hitting my brother up for his Fat Boys and Run DMC tape before I got my own. I was hitting my brother up for his X-Men, and I remember the first time I read a Punisher comic, you know what I mean? So I mean, you talk about Black Panther, you know, getting all them award nominations and banking all them $200 billion. We come a long way from Dolph Lundgren and Punisher with Louis Gossett Jr.
Right.
absolutely.
And I see somewhat of an inverse also, man, because back in the day it was not cool. It was cool to be like, yo, I rap. You know what I mean? It was not cool to be like, yo, I read comics, I like video games, this, that, third. Now it's almost flip-flop to where it's like, unless I'm literally doing something rap related, I don't say nothing about the Fat MC, because that's a dime a dozen. Everybody raps, you know. And at the same time, it's completely cool to say, yo, I'm in the comics and anime and all that kind of stuff. You know, back in the day, it was a little known fact.
Yeah, it was a little bit different, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's fair.
And how we incorporate it into, like, you know, our vocabulary and how we use the metaphors and the marriage of it, man, it's pop culture, man. Like, that's a huge part of, you know, what we do as MCs is, man, we are a part of culture, and we are a part of that, you know, and finding ways to convey that through the words we say. It's almost like another language. You know, we think in metaphors. You know, so me seeing some dope anime-ish, like, immediately I start being able to compare that in my mind. If I want to say something, I can already make the connection in my mind, like that, you know, like you said about Hulk throwing mountains. You know, or like Warriors Pride, you know, is what I say when I, you know, for example, if I'm running on fumes and I still got to give 110% of myself, I call that Warriors Pride. That's a Dragon Ball Z reference. So really, if you think about it, you know what I mean? So it's just the way we think. It's almost like you got a box of crayons or a box of magic markers, you know, in the regular language, it's like the 8 regular colors. And then the way that we connected with all the metaphors when it comes to anime or video games or being able to plug it in, that's almost like having that big ass Crayola, you know what I'm talking about, a 64 color box.
Okay.
That many different ways to talk about things. It's just like that, man. That's how we think.
Okay.
You know, also, man, I will say this, man, like just being able to, how recognizable it is, like y'all was saying, man, like little, and this just an example, dog, like, the way that we think, you know, I'll be in the elevator with people on it, and I get an urge to be like, yo, you know, before we get started, does anybody want to get off? And I know somebody's going to get it if I say. And it just so happens I'm wearing like an Iron Man, Captain America Civil War shirt. Back in the day, you didn't see that. around. You know, back in the day, I could go. I work food delivery. I go to the door. I knock on the door. I got this Iron Man Captain America shirt on, and the son of the mother, you know, it's a mother and a son, and the son is like, "Yo, that's a Civil War shirt."
Right.
Hey, you the man. You the man. So I mean, like, you have that. It is instantly recognizable and accepted, you know, nowadays to even be on that. So, you know, that's just how things have progressed.
Okay. Now, gentlemen, thank you so very much for having me host this for you and get this done and get this information out to the people, chop it up about some of our favorite things. But I would be remiss. It would be criminal almost of me to let 3 MCs go without a few bars. I don't need a whole bunch. I don't need a whole lot of them. But it'd be almost criminal for me to let 3 MCs off the hook without a few bars. So please, on our way out the door, if you could just give us just a couple, little something just to go by, a little reminder that you were here. We'll start with Joe Bags, and then we'll go to Judgment, and then we'll go to Ghost Dog MC.
All right. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah.
I said, hey, yo, this, that two-faced ghost of Gotham, Rogue Gallery disclosed the product so explosive. Most immodest, my pro staccato flow to come with a host of problems, roast and goat and close the garlic. Dinner serve, hit him with my finisher, crippling crossfake, Josh break with a spinnerverse, flip the bird, and any little young whatever with 2 syllables strung together. Where's the and effort? There's nothing better than kicking something clever. Dump Berettas and slump them to readjust the pressure. Dive to greater depths and make my paper stretch from the Bay to Bangladesh. Head still bang the set, head bang and break the neck. Your judgment drop anchor. Strike mics down with God's anger. Hit the roll with some off paper to push that raw data like a rock raider on the crossfader. You ain't really real. You a cosplayer. I'm a boss player. Never lost favor. You cannot save us and stop us from using these gifts that God gave us.
Joe, take it easy on the mic, man. We gotta leave everything in cinders, man. Go ahead, Judgment.
Yo, it's ice capades, ice pick slip knots, judgments of missile crisis liftoff with 2 swords on my back, crisscross, bite the hand that feeds where the wrist stops, diamond cut, split wrist, split your wristwatch, juggernaut, I fucking shift blocks, a close shave is Mach 3, I stab at Mach 6, to kill a mockingbird when you mock clips, toss grenades, throw bodies like mosh pits, invisible lies, a cyclops is fiber optics, beam radius left no survivor topics, Chernobyl scorched earth, the rim that toxic, all right, that's enough.
That's good.
I'm like, that's enough.
All right. Ghost Dog MC. Little something for the people.
So, in the evening hours, I feel the power to devour any nickel like sweet sour. I can sniff them out, don't even need to see the cowards. Ain't no sweat on my brow, won't even need a shower. If you grind it, then I clean the scour. A little bit of illiterate, so if I write it, they can't read about it. So I recite it when I speak it out. It's like a magic spell that never failed to break down your fragile shell. A Dr. Strange come to make a bargain. You Wesley Johnson in his ankles, and I'm James Harden shaking off them. My gaze harder before I pop my shot. I wait for it, then I back with my actions while you cop a squat. Every thought I cock is like revolver ocelot, never missing. I persist to hit you in the head with this. Man, my shit is perilous. Just a bit of carelessness can lead to headless. It's a cast needing to see therapists.
Bars.
Johnson, James Harden on skates.
Yo, Amalgamate. You're very welcome for that. Little something. 3 MCs. No rappers in the building this evening. It's all MCs in here. I'm loving it. The energy, the brotherhood, the camaraderie, the artistry of it all. Gentlemen, thank you so very much for taking the time out. I know y'all all got schedules and everything, life going on. We all appreciate you taking the time out to give us not only your thoughts on the game, but let us know what it is about the culture you love and just spending this time with us. I can't thank y'all enough, man. And we definitely gonna have to do this again. Maybe we might have to get the whole Society of Invisibles on one time. I mean, it's not enough Skype to go around, but we can make it work on the phone call. To hear a little something from the crew. And again, thank you all, so much. That's it, I guess, for this show, man.
Hey, can I say,
go ahead.
Real quick, I almost forgot when I mentioned the stuff I had going on, but yo, you can find all my stuff on all the social media sites. Hashtag Ghost Dog MC, hashtag Phantom Blade Hip Hop Music. iTunes, Amazon, like Google Play, Tidal, Spotify, everything you could think of, you'll find it.
Okay, basically all digital media outlets.
Yes.
All right. Again, thank you, gentlemen, so much for joining us here. Amalga-Maniacs, thank you for being here to listen to this and enjoy this. Have a good rest of your evening. This is your last installment of Amalga-Cast featuring hip-hop artists in the group.
Get in the head by spitting every ration, can I give it your permission to land? Spirit is every difference between the quick and the dead. So I'll be ripping these rips and I'm living instead. Many live on the ledge, and I'm doing about to fall off to the realization hit a point blank like a sword off. Moves are paid and the moves are made from a small cost compared to punch signs and hit. Part is the born wrong. Street fighter be writing a hyper old nines roll with tenacity. Be happy to go rapidly the way it has to be done. Like the old tragically escaping gravity. Of these black cold cavities and be forming off of negative forces. Headless horse and hunter whack rappers with endorsements. Meaning that I lose the hell with something stupid said. Basically born another but that is back. Who the bag on behalf of the cat in the fitted hat. Eating green as a ham, the dad in the table straps. Spit shitty raps when they get tested on tracks. Cause they cannot just facts in any tested on tracks.
What is this bullshit? I can't get any stations in there.
Fuck the world, don't ask me for shit. Everything I got, I had to work hard for it. All the homies in the streets will be packing the beats. Don't you come around these parts trying to act like it's sweet. Fuck the world, don't ask me for shit. Everything I got, I had to work hard for it. All the ladies in the cribs will be raising the kids while the man's doing it big. Yeah, we know what it is. Yeah, we more than dead. Pumpkin and Sean Price back is born again. Farewell to former friends, stuck on the corner bench. I get the storm intense, with a performance spread. So nothing short of that will slow me down. If they don't know me now, they never will. Homies clowns only bow before the holy crown. The God's blessed to be God blessed. The contest champions got extra cameras, one minus the complex.
Your partner is cheaper than clearance. She get in touch like past interference. Contract killer, my terms of endearment. Coming to terms with a disfigured appearance. I'm peerless, purebred. Pushovers get peer pressed. If you ain't dead, then you're near death. Cause those ain't bars, that's just peer press. Your music failed the ear test. I would rather hit death. Spear chest in a blind rage. You climbing in the lion's cage. I'm a berserker from the Iron Age. My style is for warmongers grade. Putting heroes in how I war with age. Titan class, putting blades today. The bird from the spade, the stage, the escape. I'm a patriot missile that's the enemy of the state. From where it's scraping in tiny place. Leave terrible state to my way. I am just turning you to play face. Death is your safe place. Get backed up your safe way. I'm extra like a week with 8 days. Leaving you pussy spray with 8 days.